Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Sam Jane. How's it going?
Good, good. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the time. Usually in your shoes, so it's been cool to kind of flip it around a little.
Yeah, we did a couple. Yeah, we did during Jim Nance award time. We had a couple of these guys on. So just tell just kind of tell people a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a student journalist at the University of Maryland. I'm a sophomore, originally from Michigan, so went out about 8 hour drive to UMD in College Park, and I always have wanted to get into journalism, kind of something I've been passionate about for a while. Ran the high school paper, all that good stuff, and then got to Maryland and hopped on at the school newspaper called the Diamondback, which is, I think, the third oldest independent student newspaper in the country. So been pretty cool to work with them, and then interned at a smaller local paper at or online site this summer, and eventually made my way over to covering high school sports for the Washington Post. So covering women's basketball, which is pretty, for anybody who doesn't know, is pretty big down there in Maryland, and then
Yeah.
um, high school sports for the Post. So it's kind of what I'm up to right now.
Yeah. Okay, so going in, so let's do this. Start like how did you get into it? Like what sparked you to do it? That's what I like to start with.
Yeah. I think people ask me that a lot, like, oh, like why'd you get into journalism and all that stuff. And I guess like the main thing was I just always loved to read as a kid. I
Yeah.
was a big reader, read every type of book, nonfiction, fiction, all that shit, good jazz. And then um when I would used to go to the grocery store with my mom, the only way she could persuade me to be good throughout the time was buying me a Sports Illustrated for Kids copy at the end of the trip to Kroger or whatever it may be. So got into magazines through that, and then really just started reading a lot of journalism, reading a lot of sports journalism, and that kind of was how I got into it. And I've always loved talking to people and figuring out, kind of their story. And yeah, I just put two and two together. I like sports, I like journalism, I like writing, I like talking to people, and that's kind of how I got into sports journalism. But I've always been interested in the field as a whole too. So yeah, it's kind of where I've come from.
Yeah. Okay, so when you got to Maryland, I know you did like what makes, someone like you pretty good at what you do is the unique things that you can come up with, like you can think of and do. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Um, Tell me about the time you tried to do a like what did you do?
It was like a women's basketball workout. Yeah. Um,
What sparked you
yeah,
to do that?
I don't know. I think that, my editors have said to me, like, you know, they've kind of given me free reign on ideas because, um, I think it all at the end of the day, it goes back to reading a lot. And if you read a lot of different sites and publications, then you can kind of craft through that, like your own ideas. So I had seen some stuff of like, oh, I tried out for a minor league baseball team and this is what happened. Like took him through. It was like an open tryout or whatever. And I had saw another article where it's kind of journalism places X person in their shoes, and I was like, it might be kind of fun. I played basketball in high school. I wasn't like amazing or anything. I hoop at Maryland still. I have a pretty good relationship with the SID at Maryland, so I was like, hey, like, do you think this is something that we could work out? And she was they were all in, they liked it a lot, and did the workout or whatever. And obviously I knew that it would probably get some traction just because it was a unique idea or whatever, but I didn't really expect it to be as red as it was, like, from what they've told me. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool, and I think it definitely helped establish a better connection with players and coaches on the team. Like, they still joke with me about it a lot because they saw that I was kind of willing to, I didn't want to be the guy who went in and acted like, because I think that's something that journalists that do those type of things can maybe border on is go in and act like, oh, you know, ordinary person can't do athletic people things. Like everyone knows that, right? I think I wanted to more so explain the process, why Maryland's individual workouts are so unique and why they're so important to the success of the program. So I think I was able to convey that at least decently in the story, enough to where I don't, and self-deprecating humor always helps with that. So I think that was kind of the main thing. And yeah, it was a fun story to do for sure.
Okay, so tell me all the things that you've gotten to do besides that. Uh,
Yeah.
um, like, what have you been able to accomplish? Because when you do the college stuff, and then when you do the high school stuff, it's two totally different worlds.
Yeah, definitely. I think, well, it's just like it's a different type of job almost, in that, like,
Yeah.
for example, my most recent fun story I got to do was they let me sit in the halftime locker room for a game, which is pretty unprecedented. Like, there, from what I found, there was one other story that anybody's ever done. It was on the Athletic about the 49ers. This guy named Matt Barrows, I think, sat in on a locker room there. So that was pretty cool. They let me do that. And that's a different job because it's like I've built connections. I covered them last year for a different outlet. So I've built connections over like 2 years of they, they kind of trust me. In some ways it's still a like job relationship, but they know I'm not going to like, do anything stupid basically. And
Right.
you're able to get to know people a little more. Whereas, and you can kind of like, you're on the beat, right? So it's like, you can kind of craft longer story ideas and stuff like that. Whereas high school, you know, it's in the DMV. So I'm covering 200, 300 different high schools. It's impossible over 2 years to build up those, especially in the short span. Like, I covered cross country and now I'm on swimming. It's kind of tough to build those real organic
Right.
relationships. So it's almost like you have to be able to really rely on the Post's brand for them to help you find good stories. And also, you just have to be alert to like picking up on things. Like, I send Google forms and emails to coaches all the time and kind of able to gauge stuff, the stories you found, like, and overall big topic ideas. Like, I'm doing a story that should come out soon about, for the Post, about what it feels like to be a black swimmer in a white dominated sport, right? Like, swimming is one of the most white sports there is. How does it feel, to be an African American in that type of sport, and collegiately as well.
Yeah.
Um, so it's just like more big picture stuff, I would say too. But they're definitely, you're right, they're definitely different.
Yeah. I mean, it's for a kid that grew up in Michigan. What drew him all the way to College Park?
Yeah, um I think that being able to be next to a major city with a bunch of different news outlets like DC, and then Baltimore is obviously close by too, was a big aspect. Maryland's journalism school is pretty good. It's up there in the top 5 or whatever rankings you go off for journalism schools. Um, and I really liked the little school in a big pot and a big pool type of thing, like a little fish in a big, like, I wanted a big feel for a school. And Maryland obviously is that. There's like 40,000 kids, but the journalism school is definitely a tight knit group. Like, I pretty much know a lot of the people that walk through the halls of the journalism school. So that was definitely up there. And then, um, you know, it doesn't hurt that the the money thing too. So that's always a factor as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've loved it. I mean, didn't know I would, growing up, that I would turn out to love red, especially because I grew up as a Michigan fan. But I have a lot more in my closet now. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you got that flag everywhere too, I
yeah,
think.
that's a big thing down there, man. It's crazy. Like, I didn't even know what the Michigan flag looked like, and now it's all over Maryland. Like, the Maryland flag stamped everywhere. It gets kind of it's a big thing for sure.
Yeah.
I wish they would just stick with their little script things. I like the script that they've been wearing recently more so than the state flag.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me all the things you're currently doing right now,
Yeah.
like on the college side of things. Like, what are you focused on? Like, and well, how's it
Yeah.
going on that
It's
side of
been
things?
good. I mean, I think like just working on different projects for, I mean, hoop season is kind of in its only lull of the season right now with
Right.
the winter break, but working on some projects for that. You know, got some cool ideas in the works, so excited for to maybe execute on those. Obviously with the post, it's been internships is different just because like I'm a young kid, so like a lot of places, that's one of the frustrations or things that I have is like as a sophomore, that you're I think that I'm relatively qualified for certain stuff, but at the end of the day, and I don't blame these companies for that, they want someone who's older and more, been in the game longer and,
Yeah.
they can hire quicker than that type of thing. So I've applied to some places and just going through that process too and
Right.
figuring out kind of what my next steps are. Eventually, definitely want to get into print journalism.
Yeah.
Try to keep kind of, I don't know how you feel, but I feel like journalism as a whole, you kind of have to be versatile. So definitely do some on camera stuff too, uh,
Absolutely.
with a student group down there. But if I had to choose, I would stick with the pen over the
Yeah.
prompter.
Nothing wrong with that. But so like where do you like what sport do you prefer? Because the thing is, it's like you just said it. You have to be prepared for,
Yeah,
any like football is different than basketball. Then they might have you say, okay, there's this golf thing going on.
yeah,
Then there's this NASCAR race you got to go cover, thing like that.
yeah. Journalism is not a field for people who are rigid, I would say.
Right. Well, I mean,
Definitely.
unless you specify in certain things, like,
Yeah, good
you
point.
have your golf writers, your basketball writers, your football guys,
Yeah.
your motorsports guys. Um,
Tough to start out that way though. You kind of just have to figure it out from the jump.
yeah. So, like, where do you see yourself? Like, what sports are you like really comfortable like
Yeah,
working with?
that's a good question. I think it's been fun honestly because in some ways I don't know if you would agree. I've liked covering sports that I don't know as well. Like I covered cross country and swimming for the Post, and I had no idea about either of them. Right, like
Right.
and you kind of get to go into it with like a reinvigorated sense of like, okay, let me learn about the sport. Let me figure out like, talking to people. It's kind of like that like idea of journalism starts all over again for you. And
Right.
I really, really liked that, honestly. But the ones I'm most comfortable with, probably basketball. And I haven't gotten a chance, but I played baseball in high school, so probably baseball. But any of the major sports and niche wise, I've loved covering women's college hoops because I think that they give you a lot. They give you really good media access,
They do.
especially at least Maryland, because it's a less
Yep.
covered sport. And I think the players are super, super willing to talk with you and are appreciative. And I just think it's a sport that's definitely on the rise. Like people pay attention to it more now. So I've really, really enjoyed covering women's hoops.
Absolutely. Um, so like, we talked about, plans for the rest of the year. Like,
Mm.
what's Sam got planned coming up? I know you just talked about some of the story ideas so far, but actually, you know what? Let's ask this. What's Maryland women's hoops? What's how's
How are
things
they
going?
looking?
So, yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
I think they'll be okay. I think that they're probably a tournament. They're definitely a tournament team. I don't know if they're as good as last year, but they're definitely good. So it'll be fun to see how the rest of the year plays out. The Big Ten is obviously stacked. Michigan's pretty solid. Iowa's good. Ohio State and Indiana are good. So it's a really good conference, and I'm excited to get into Big Ten play here soon. And then on the journalism side, just kind of figuring things out. Continuing to work. It never, I'm sure as you know, it never really slows
No,
down. There's not really an off season.
no, it doesn't. I mean, during this interview, I just had some coaches text me, so
Yeah, it
it's
never stops.
always it never does.
It's a job that the second you go on vacation, that's when you get the most texts and calls, right? So
Yeah, these next 2 weeks are going to be because everyone's off of school, everyone's
mm,
got all the time in the world to talk now.
yeah, exactly, right. No
Yeah, for
kidding.
sure.
But yeah, it's been good. And then we have some and with the next step I hope we'll see is like editing. I want to get more into editing. And so all of the sports editors at the Diamondback, which is the school paper, are seniors, so they're leaving. So I'll be applying to that and I'm a little nervous because I've never really edited. I mean, I edited in high school, but it's different. So I'm excited for that, though. We'll see how it goes.
All right. Okay. Let's I don't think I've ever done this with a journalist before, but let's try new things. Let's get to know you a little bit. How about that?
All right, sounds good.
Okay. Any sport, who is your okay, this is kind of two questions here. Favorite player growing up and favorite player now. This can be in any sport.
Favorite player growing up. Um, I'm gonna give you a two-part. Either Matthew Stafford, I was a big staff guy,
Gee.
and I loved me some Ian Kinsler. That's kind of a niche answer, but Ian Kinsler was my guy growing up. Tiger's second.
Oh man.
I loved me some Ian Kinsler. He was always an underrated player, so
Yeah,
I liked me some Kinsler. And then
right.
now, um, I mean, I guess I have to go with the new NFC North champs. I like me some Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay.
He's solid. And then
Yeah.
I really like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander on the basketball side. He's so smooth. So I like me some Shea.
Okay. Favorite movie.
Ocean's 11. No questions asked. What about you?
Hate when you do this. I hate. No, I should say I hate when people do this. I have no. Oh my
Not a movie
God.
guy?
Not a movie guy.
Oh,
No
interesting. Show guy? You like shows or not?
shows. I got into the. Let's see. I know everyone's gonna say like the All Americans or like. Oh God, what's another one? Yeah, I mean, I just got rid of Netflix. I mean, here's the thing though, when you're covered, when
Not a lot of time.
no, there isn't.
I
Um,
agree. That's
no,
why shows are hard for me. I can't like maintain a good show, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I'll let you keep going with the rapid
No,
fire.
no,
My
dude.
bad.
Go-to place for food.
Are we talking Michigan or Maryland?
You can, this is anywhere, bud. This is
um, I would say I like the Cheesecake Factory.
yeah,
Me some Cheesecake Factory.
yeah. Um, okay. Best place to get something to eat in College Park.
Looney's. Go there if you go to College Park. Huge sports bar, Irish pub, great food. Get the crab dip.
Okay. Best place to go get something to eat in Ann Arbor.
The Blue Nile. I love Ethiopian. And I work at shout out Tio's Mexican restaurant. That's
Ooh,
I used to work there. So
nice. Okay, what is something people do not know about you?
ooh, people don't know about me. Um, people don't know about me. Oh, I'm a huge Percy Jackson, Harry Potter. I
Oh,
loved all the series
geez.
growing up. Yeah,
That goes back a little bit.
yeah, yeah. That was my thing back in the day.
Yeah. All righty. Well, Sam, thanks so much for coming out and talking
Thank
with
you
me.
for having me. Appreciate it. Definitely pay attention to all your Michigan high school sports coverage through Casey. So I
Yeah.
will be, if I ever need to figure out how my old high school is doing, I'll be checking in with you for
Yeah,
sure.
sounds good.
So. Thanks again for having me on, man. I appreciate you.